I have a fear of screwing up on TV, but at the same time, people come up to me and go, that day you screwed up and you messed that word up or you laughed at yourself. That was so funny. I love that. So, it's kind of endearing to people. It lets them know that you're a real person too. We all we make mistakes every day because we're, 6 hours of live television. And I've changed my tune on that. I used to think, oh my God, I can't mispronounce a word. I don't want to, obviously. But if you do, it's okay. You laugh about it and then you move on.
Guys, welcome back. I'm so excited. I have somebody special here. I always have somebody special here, but one of my top DMs that I've had this past week was, hey, Celina, who's the news guy? Where's the news guy that was interviewing Andy Elliott? And I have him here today, and I was like, I find him, and I reeled him back in so we could do a podcast with him. But I have Scott Pasmore here, and he's with Good Morning Arizona.
Right.
And I was like, hey, let's bring you in. I have a ton of people that are asking about you, and
Really?
I thought it was just very unique.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, that people were really interested in you and what made you choose Andy. So we have a couple of different questions, but before we get into it, I would like to know you a little bit more. So,
Okay.
And I think it's really good. The whole point of why we do the podcast and the platform is just to tell other people's stories and put your information, take the information from the people who have it to the people who need it. So you've been working at your news station for 20 plus years. How long?
34 years at Channel 3. That's a long time.
That's a long time. No, that's dedicated and being consistent.
I always tease and say, either they like me or nobody else does. So I'm not sure which it is. But no, it's been a long time.
What got you into it, or like why?
I studied it in college just because I have a curious nature, like a lot of people, but I wanted to, I thought about all these careers when you're in college, when you're a student, do I want to be an accountant? Do I want to be whatever? And none of that excited me, but TV news did. Because, it's a different thing you're doing every single day. I get to interview all kinds of people from the sports world, politicians, athletes, like I said, stars, business people, regular everyday people, which are the best. So it's just very, very interesting. My day is never the same.
It's cool. A lot of people aren't into public speaking. Or they're fearful. They're introverted.
Actually, I am too, actually.
Are you really?
Yeah, because,
I didn't guess that.
it's like our studio is similar to this. I mean, we're sitting there, people will go, aren't you nervous? I'm like, well, I better hadn't be after this many years, but there's nobody in there. It's just a camera. They're automated, they're robot cameras, and I'm hanging out with my coworkers who are my friends. So it's like you and I just hanging around talking all morning, except I'm reading. So yeah, it's a lot different. Now, when I go out in the field and I have to public speak, that's way different. There's a crowd of 1,000 people there. It's like, oh God.
Yeah. No, that's cool. We were just right before you actually drove up. There was a guy outside that was trying to role play, and we pulled the camera out. There's a guy with a camera, and he goes, "Oh God, now I forgot my line because the camera's out." And I'm like, "Don't worry about it. You just act like no big deal. Yeah. What are you going to do when the customer's on the other side?" So.
It's funny when people get a camera and they see that red light, they do get nervous. You can see the red coming down their neck, but it's always my job at my work to make them relax and be comfortable.
Yeah, I love that. What is what's your passion? What's your mission? Why? Obviously, from 33 years ago, it's probably has changed from what it is now, and you probably have more clearer version. So what's your passion now, or what's your mission with being on the news? Like some people just want to give out information. Some people want it, like Andy wants to inspire people. What's your mission that you have?
The mission is to inform people. I mean, we have this morning show that starts at 4:30 in the morning. I come on at 6. And so, the idea is to get people going for their day. I always look at it like inform people with what's going on in the world, but also give them a smile. Because let's face it, most people don't like going to their jobs every day. And so I always felt like it's my job to, bring some pleasure into their lives, whether it be just 2 minutes sitting in their living room, but also inform them with what's going on, but also give them something to smile about, maybe something to joke about or talk about once they get to work.
Do you get to pick out what you want to talk about? Is that all?
There's a lot of it's scripted. Our producers write the shows. So as far as the news and things like that, that's all scripted, and I'm reading off a teleprompter. Even though people have said, do you have that memorized? I'm like, no, it's a teleprompter. But the ad-libbing, that's all us. I mean, and you try to come up with things, whatever you're talking about, and try to be interesting and funny and
The producers, have you seen like a lot come and go out of your time?
Producers do come and go a lot. Well, it's a business like that. A lot of people come and go because, TV news, you get into this, you're always looking for the next better job, more pay, that sort of thing. I just happen to be the one guy who stayed there forever. But I've seen a lot of good employees or friends and fellow workers go to.
We tell people all the time, like here at the Elliott Group and with sales, we tell people just find one thing and stick to it for a time. Because the problem is, and this isn't just in sales, this is everywhere. Like somebody picks, they want to sell insurance, and then somebody wants to go work at Starbucks. And then 6 months later, it's like, oh, Starbucks used to be cool. Now I want to go work at Target. Now I want to try this and that. And it's like, stop trying to bounce around. Just find the one thing and get really, really good at it. And then once you realize, like, if it's something that you want, then you can jump or try something else. So I love that consistency.
Yeah, there's a lot of careers that just don't pay very much money, and mine is one of them. But I've always thought if you can be one of the best at what you do, you're going to make a good income. But yeah, I mean, my first job, I made $10,000 a year. That's not even like $5 an hour. Yeah. So it was very difficult back in the day. And then my second job, same thing, think about that, $10,000 a year as a morning anchor in Palm Springs.
36.
Yeah, so I've always worked two jobs to make it because I love this job. I didn't want to give that up. But I knew that if I just stuck with it, worked my tail off and got older in life, that I'd be doing okay.
I love that. So I can already just tell, just by like observing you and watching you, I can already tell that you're a leader inside of your news station. Like with the moment that we walked in there, my observation skills start immediately. My awareness is extremely sharp, and I've just skills I've developed, and I can tell immediately, like looking at you, that you're a big leader and a big part of that motion of the crew. So I guess as a leader, how do you step up and get everybody like on the same page, and how do you lead and motivate the people in your station?
Well, first of all, thank you for saying that. Yeah. I've been there so long, I should be somewhat of a leader. Even if it's sometimes sitting back and letting other people, I don't tell people what to do with their jobs, but if there's a situation where everybody's kind of sitting back, then I'll go, come on, let's go. We got to do it this way. And, so I let everybody has their job to do. And I support everybody with what they do. So if somebody did something, if something went out over the air that I didn't like, or I thought was wrong, or maybe it was too far left or right leaning politically, we have conversations about that. But, I never get on people. Just, hey, I think we should do it this way. What do you think? Yeah, it's always we.
I like that.
We're always a team.
Yeah, I love that.
It is never me. I mean, I'm just the last person out there, putting the news out to the public. There are so many people that work their tails off a lot harder than I work behind the scenes, that get there in the middle of the night. So they are the ones that do all the work.
I love that. That's a powerful thing. So how did you find Andy? And how did you come across him? Where did you find him? How did that happen?
I love social media, first of all. And so
Which one are you on the most? TikTok, Instagram?
Actually, it's Instagram I prefer the most.
Okay, why? Because the scrolling?
Yeah, it's just easier for me. Yeah, I haven't really got into TikTok yet. I'm on Facebook.
It's okay. No, they got a bunch of ASMR like.
I know.
That you don't need to even get into.
I always felt maybe I was too old for TikTok, but no. So I love to follow. If you looked at my Instagram, I follow golf, I follow motivation. I follow airplanes because I'm a pilot. I follow working out and cars and, just things and real estate because I'm a real estate freak. And so I came across Andy's pages and I was like, I love this guy because he's got a tough love, and that's the era I grew up in. So as I went through and I was watching all these blips of Andy and how he teaches people and he's kind of tough on people, I thought it was amazing. I loved it. So I thought, I got to get this guy on. So that's the one cool thing about my job. If I see something really cool, we can get him on our show if it's really interesting. And so I reached out and he put me in touch with you. I just figured he lived somewhere out of state. And so my question was, hey, if he's ever in Arizona, you think we could get him on Good Morning Arizona? And you go, we're in Fountain Hills. I'm like, oh my God, 20 minutes from us.
So how long have you been following him then prior to that? Okay.
Yeah, I just came across him.
Okay, like
exactly. I mean, I came across him and we had him on TV within the month.
Yeah, that's insane.
I was just so impressed. First of all, I love how in shape he is, because we all aspire for that.
Yeah, I remember I was out at Disneyland. This was during Christmas time, and Andy sent me a message, and he's like, "I don't know who this is, but reach out. Let's see if we can do something." He's here locally, and I was like, "Okay." So I'm about to go like on Space Mountain. I'm like, "Hey, Scott, what's up?" Like, let me figure out. See.
Yeah, no, I was so impressed with him. I just love people that get out there on their own and kick butt in life because I feel like I try to do that. So I'm very impressed with people that do it all on their own. And so I was just impressed with him the moment I saw him. And then now being around the offices, I'm like, this guy's so kick ass.
Yeah, Andy always teaches us your body is like a walking billboard, and people can tell how disciplined that you are. And Andy preaches physical mental business. And people will take you more seriously. And I'm just going to be real with you. You probably wouldn't have stopped and scrolling if he was 600 pounds. You'd probably just keep going.
You're exactly
You know, so it makes him so interesting. And just to go back to Disneyland, because this is on the top of my brain right now, but like all of us, like we're training for an Ironman right now. So we're either swimming or biking or running or we're doing something freaking crazy. But I remember walking around even at Disneyland and I'm like, man, I feel like I'm the most in shape person, and I don't even look like Andy, but I'm the most in shape person. And I'm like looking at all these people, and I look at somebody like Andy and I'm like, if I'm trying to do business with somebody or vice versa, like I can tell that he's going to take more care of somebody based off the way he takes care of.
I've always believed that a strong person is going to be more successful physically and mentally, of course. And so if I'm going to follow somebody and I'm going to believe in what they say, they got to walk the walk, not just talk the talk, right?
It's true.
I mean, it's like you don't want to go to the gym and have some guy that's obese try to tell you how to get in shape.
I thought about that before.
It's true, though.
I remember my old gym where I used to work out at. This is when I started training with Andy. I would look around and I'm looking at the trainers, and they're not even in shape. And I'm like, what the heck? But it's because the person that they're training is not nearly even close to them. But I'm like, oh man. And then it just makes me think like, wow, what if Andy came out here with the entire Elliott group and they sold gym memberships all day long? They'd be the #1 gym in Spokane, Washington. And it blew my mind away of like how much of a difference that it makes. So
you got to be careful on social media because I'm a huge golf freak and I golf a couple times a week. So I follow a lot of videos. I'm always trying to better my game like any golfer. But everybody's got advice. Everybody's a pro on social media. So you have to really pick and choose who you're going to follow and believe in.
That's true. Yeah. I'm glad you wore 2 shirts today, just in case you got a hole in one.
So am I to cover up. I was afraid Andy might have me take my shirt off or something.
Okay, so how do you use our training in a way, because you're not in sales? So most people are like, oh, I watch Andy's YouTube videos because it helps him with training. Well, you're obviously not in sales. So how do you implement Andy's training style?
Well, I think that life is sales, right? I mean, I'm not selling a product per se, but I want to be motivated in life, whether it's with your relationship, whether it's your paycheck that you get at the end of the week and how to handle that money, so you don't go broke. And everything you do in life is sales, and everything in life is about being motivated, about having a better life. So that's how I use it, motivation for life. I mean, I can sit and listen to Andy talk about how to sell a car and how to not get turned down, but I'm always thinking, well, how can I apply that to my life?
Yeah, the bigger picture. So what have you implemented in your life since you've met Andy?
Well, it's the same thing I've always implemented in my life. As I mentioned, my first 2 TV jobs, I only made $10,000 a year. So I grew up on a farm in Kansas. My dad was always an extremely hard worker. I mean, when I was a little kid, I never even saw him because he worked 3 jobs a day at a time. And so I always had that mentality. So when I was working in Palm Springs as a morning anchor, making $10,000, I just couldn't get by with that. So I worked in retail at the local mall on weekends. So I never had a day off for an entire year because I just had to get by. And then when I moved to Albuquerque, I was making all of $17,000 a year, and I was married at the time. And my wife and I, we bought our first house for $54,000. And I came home one day, and she had changed a toilet out, and I'm like, how'd you know how to do that? And she's like, I don't know, I just did it. So I said, why don't we remodel this home? And so we did over a matter of a couple of months. We sold it 3 or 4 months later and made $35,000 in that short amount of time. And I'm like, ding, that's what I'm going to do. So I started remodeling homes.
Changing toilets.
Yeah, so I've done that my entire adult life. So I used to remodel homes. Now I build new ones from the ground up. And that's always been my second job. And when you know how people are, the people tend to hate successful people. So if you have things in life, they're always like, you get paid too much. Yeah. And I'm always like, no, I work 2 jobs. I've always worked 2 jobs.
Yep. No, I agree. And but everybody has an equal opportunity, especially here in the United States. Totally agree. And that's, sometimes I get frustrated. Like you said, everybody's got opinions, but I get frustrated with the people on the side of the road that's like willing to do, work for whatever. I'm like, the 7-Eleven's right behind you. I'm sure that you can work up something or come up with something, or, if you want it that bad, you'll find a way to make it happen. And I mean, even pulling just something on the side, or door knocking. Hey, if you have a lawnmower, I'd be happy to mow your lawn.
Could not agree more. It's all about hustling. Yeah, I feel like I love the hustle part of it.
Yeah, it's so true. And I've been the same way. And I got into sales right at 18 because I moved out of my parents' house at 18, and I had no other option but to figure it out and solve problems. I think that's probably why we connect so well, meaning the Elliott Group and Andy and you, is because you're naturally a problem solver. Like whenever you see something going, just solve the problem. Just solve the problem.
Yeah, that's one thing I get from his videos, and I totally believe in that. You either sit on the sideline and you bitch about your life and complain that others have more than you and you need it given to you, or you get up off your butt and you go do it. And that's always been my
so true.
The way I look at life.
You don't have kids, do you?
I don't.
Oh, you've been a great dad.
I know. I have to say, I'm 62. When I turned 60, I kind of had a moment where I regretted that. I was like, I do. That's my one regret in life, that I didn't have kids. And people are like, well, you can go marry a 25-year-old and have kids. No, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. But yeah, I do regret.
Do you have like nieces and nephews?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
A couple of them are out of state. 2 live here in town, and they're 21 and 19, so they don't want anything to do with me. They got their lives.
Well, the Elliott Group is very fertile.
Okay.
We have a lot of children.
That's a good thing. That's a great thing.
If you want to be, I mean, you're already part of our brotherhood and our Elliott Army, so
I appreciate that.
Kids are your kids too.
I like kids because I'm a kid. I mean, anybody that knows me just realize you're just a big kid.
That's it. We called it the Lion's Den here.
Yeah.
We call it an adult playground.
I love that.
It's like,
yeah, I'm never gonna grow up. I don't want to grow up. I just want to be a kid my whole life.
Life's too good. And the part with money and like pulling a second job, what you're talking about, is we just want to be able to fuel that way we can go have more experiences and go do fun things as a team and be able to contribute more. And I remember there's this guy, I don't know if you've heard of him. His name is Keaton Hoskins, called The Muscle. His name is The Muscle on Instagram. But he had an event last year. He has one coming up this year. It's called Limitless. And so last year he had a food truck driver that drove all the way to the top of his house. And I mean, this guy's got this big, beautiful home that overlooks Salt Lake City. And a lot of influencers came over that night to do like a rundown of what the event was going to look like. And Andy and a bunch of the other influencers there, they took out $1,000 out of the ATM, and Andy took a wad of $30,000 out of $100 bills to this truck driver.
Wow.
This food truck driver, because he had his kids inside, his babies. I mean, baby's in a car seat. The baby is inside of the food truck that drove to the top, not in the front seat, like in the cargo with like where they wash their hands and they cook the food. And yeah, everybody like pitched in $1,000, and Andy took this wad of cash out, and this guy just starts crying, and he's just like, I've worked so hard my whole life, like for this moment. And he's like, I can't take it. And he started crying, and they're like, no, like go take it, go flourish your business. And
that is amazing.
And that's like fulfilling.
Yeah, it is. That's why it would be fun to win the lottery.
Yeah.
I always think, okay, I'd set this amount aside and just give it to people. That would be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Giving back is
it is very important.
Yeah. How do you think Andy has changed you since you've been following him for like 2-3 months?
I guess just the motivation part of it, and then I came to work out with you guys last weekend, and I was like, man, this dude's got some legs. I'm like so jealous of his body. Did you do the run? So I did not the big run. I did around the building run. So I huffed and puffed my way around. So I always tell people, I've spent my life, I mean, I ran track in college, and so I spent my life in sports, but now that I'm getting older, I just pretty much play golf. So I'm I'm in golf shape, not working out.
I love that. What's your handicap?
It's just under 6 right now, but that could happen one day, and then the next day I could go shoot an 82. That's golf. Everybody would tell you that. So I would never sit here and brag like I'm good or anything.
Yeah.
The moment you say, "Oh, I got this down," you're screwed.
I know. You know what's so funny is this is a fun fact. If Andy wasn't going to hire me, if I couldn't get on his team, I was going to play LPGA. I was going to go professional.
Seriously? You're that good?
No, but I was going to train.
Oh, you were going to train for it. Okay. That could be that. Well, I hope you make it. That could be a lifetime mission.
No, because I was getting into golfing. I got into golfing before I found Andy, but then I was golfing every single Sunday after work, because my dealership that I worked at, we closed at like 4 o'clock, some early hours. And in Spokane, Washington, the sun doesn't set till like 10 p.m. I could technically play a whole round of golf if I wanted to, but I did 9 holes every Sunday, like clockwork.
Good for you.
And I'm like, this is good just so I can learn, what the green is like, in the rough, the sand, where the wind is blowing. There's just so many different things that you learn. But there was a course just right down the road, and it was one of the most beautiful courses that I ever golfed on, and it's right down the road. So I would go there every Sunday, and then after work, I'd go hit a bucket of balls. And my game, so I paid for an instructor. And I believe that if you want to get good at something, you got to find a coach.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The pros have coaches, so that should tell you everything you need to know.
And it's kind of like, if you want to sell insurance, why are you going to wasting 10 to 12 hours a day how to sell insurance when you can go find somebody like Andy, a professional, that's going to teach you how to do it? So I paid for a coach, and we trained once a week for 2 hours. And I remember when I first started, because my dad had me golf as a kid, but I remember I would grip to the club so hard because I thought it was like baseball. Mm-hmm. And my hands would have like blisters and calluses.
Wow, you were gripping too tight.
I know, and I would be finished, and then I would look at Bill, who's the instructor, and this guy is like 80 years old, and he is just
and probably knew everything.
Beautiful at golfing, and he played professional too and toured, and he would just like, Celina, no, like look, he's like, think.
Because they say the grip between 0 and 10 should be like a 2.
Yeah,
something like that.
Like it's all just in the club and in the wrist. Like it's nothing to do. You're not hitting a baseball. Right. And I finally started to be like, oh, and I got it. But I would have like blisters. My hands would hurt and tear up so badly because I couldn't figure it out. Yeah. And finally, I was like, oh my gosh. Well, I started training with Andy, and then I started to get into the motivational part. And before I would go like tee off or like right as like we're going up to the next hole, I would just brainwash myself. Celina, you're going to hit it long. It's going to go straight. You're going to have a nice clean shot. It's going to be right in the fairway. And there was times where like I chipped it in one time into the hole, like 10 feet away. And it's crazy because it's all in the mind.
It's all in the mind. It's
Celina, you're the best. You're going to keep this course moving. You're going to do these 9 holes. You're going to be right back next Sunday. And the more that I would listen to Andy, the better golfer I became. It was crazy.
I believe that. Yeah, that's my biggest problem is between my ears, and a lot of golfers are like that. The great thing about golf is it's such an individual. First of all, it's so hard. It's the hardest, maybe outside of hitting a baseball, but it's so hard. So it's an individual thing. Everybody's, you go out and you play with your buddies. You're working on your own game. That's really all you should care about. So like yesterday, I golfed at the Phoenician, and the front 9, I was 2 over. So I was totally excited about that. Yeah. If I can shoot in the 70s, I'm very happy. And this guy that was playing with us, I didn't realize that he had played in college, which is the coolest thing in the world. He was a college D1 golfer and played on one of the tours. But I didn't realize that at the time. So he's even on the front 9 and very nice, very complimentary. And I'm just like, man, you are so good. He could hit it so far. It was just, I love to watch a great golfer. Yeah. On the back 9, my putter went to hell, and I couldn't do anything. I was like 5 over on the back. He had 7 birdies on the back 9. Wow. 7 birdies. And so anyway, my putting has just sucked lately, and so it's such a mental thing. Yeah. So he comes up to me and he goes, you want a tip on your putting? And I go, yeah. He goes, your stroke is really good. Your attitude sucks. And I go, you're right, it does suck. He goes, you walked up to that birdie putt and you told me you were going to miss it as a joke, and then you missed it. Yep. So it's everything about life is right up here. And that's what I love about golf is you have a bad shot or a bad hole to come back and do well on the next hole. It's a mind.
Yeah, you can redeem yourself just the next hole. And so I remember just training, and I'm like, oh my gosh, if I took Bill, who has the actual skill set of golfing, and then I took Andy for a mindset coach, I am literally the perfect golfer to win. Like, there's nobody else that could have these two perfect people in their life. And yeah, I started playing really well. I won a pack of golf balls from Vice. It was limited edition. They were gold. It's the only set that they've made.
The balls were gold?
Their balls were gold. They only made 5 packs, and guess who they were signed by? Shooter McGavin. So I have a signed
awesome.
box of golf
That's
balls
awesome.
by
Don't
Shooter
play and lose
McGavin.
those. Don't
I
lose
know.
them.
I've gifted it. I've used it as a gift because it's a pack of, however many's in a pack. And I've gifted it to certain people that have, kind of impacted me. Like I gave one to Bill, my instructor. But it says Shooter on the box, and they had him sign it. I was like, this is so cool. They only have 5 in the world that they produced that was signed by him, and I won one of them. But I told myself in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna win this pack of golf balls until I.
So the funny thing, when I met Andy, and then I saw him down at the studio, but I see him on the videos, and he loves to wear shorts to show off those legs, as I would too. And the first thing I thought is, if I had legs like that and I was a really good golfer, life would be pretty amazing.
Yes.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
It's just one of the things I was like,
It's
yeah,
true.
that's a lot of squats he does.
It's true. He has 2 different brands, I think, that he wears shorts from. Chubby's is that one of them, and then I think Cuts is the other one. But
My legs look like that, I'd be showing them off too. Otherwise, I'll just wear long pants.
yeah, he is
He's probably not a golfer, is he?
No, he has a zero patience for it. Yeah, he's like, I can't. I'm like, squirrel, and then he's off to the.
But you know what's great about golf too? That the part he would like, it's a great business sport because I mean, you're out there with your buddies, and you're either talking about golf, or you're talking about your relationship, or you're talking about business. I mean, it's fantastic, the people that you meet on the golf course.
It's great. It's great for you to be alone, and you're out in a beautiful place too. Right. And then also, I think it allows you to be more intimate. You get to, collaborate a little bit more closely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, just having things in common with other people. And then I do think I know golfing is a little bit more of a higher level financially. It's a higher level sport too. It's pricier. But like, hey, if somebody is willing to invest in me, like I remember this one time, there's this girl, I took her and her boyfriend out golfing. It was me, my ex-boyfriend, and then her and another guy. And I was trying to do business with her. And I was like, you know what? Like, the right thing to do is just to pay for everybody for a round of golf. And that's exactly what I did. Because
I want to go golfing with you.
I know. I'm sure everybody would now. They're like, Celina, let me get your phone number. Let's text you. It's 9492.
Call me anytime you want to golf, especially if you're picking up the bill. Well, I golf at this club on the west side of town called Westbrook, and it's very affordable. It's probably the cheapest club in town. So, because golf is ridiculous. I mean, ever since the pandemic and went through the roof, and I can't pay I mean, we always joke, you go to this, one golf course you've wanted to go your whole life, and you pay $300 or $400 or $500, and then you suck. That ruins it.
I was going to ask you at your news station. I wanted to kind of pivot a little bit off into team, because team building is really important to us. How big is your team that you guys have inside of your facility?
Oh gosh, I'm in the morning. I'm the only male on the air. I have a great job. I know I have the envy of a lot of men out there. I work with beautiful women, so that's really cool. And the nicest people. So probably 5 people in studio, and then there's a producer for every hour. And then there's an executive producer, and then we have the reporters out in the field, and then with each reporter there's a photographer, and then we have all the editors, and so there's so many people behind the scenes that make it happen. Like I said, I'm the last guy that just reads the teleprompter, but there's so many. I mean, we probably have a team of 50 or 75 people just for the morning show.
Very good. And is there always somebody that's there 24/7?
No, everybody works shifts.
Go like in and out.
I can go there in the middle of the night if I want to.
Like us, we all have keys to the building. I mean, technically, we have alarms that will go off at certain hours.
Yeah. Well, the station's open 24/7 because we're almost always on the air. So our last show ends at 11 at night, and then we've got our early morning producers coming in like at midnight. So that's a tough schedule. I mean, they're going to bed at like in the late afternoon.
Yeah, that would be hectic.
And so there's always people there for sure.
What's something where you want to really improve on this year, or like grow and getting better and
work wise or personal? Just I always look like it's never done. I mean, I want to improve in every asset of my life. I build homes, like I said, and I'm at this stage where it's done. Now I'm waiting for it to sell, and it's really frustrating because right at the moment, not getting any calls. It's a tough
Hey guys,
time.
text Scott if you
Yeah,
want
right, right.
So,
So,
contact info
but
in
but
here
it,
too.
but during this time, I'm always thinking, okay, what am I going to do next? You know, do I want to do the same thing? Do I want to try to maybe buy some rentals and rent out a bunch of houses, or build a small, you know, a duplex, a couple of those? So I'm always thinking about what I want to do next. And people always ask me, where are you going? I'm like, you know, this is a interesting situation with this house because I put all my money into it. And so to make it happen, so it's been a financial struggle. So I'm either going to make it and come out okay, or I'm going to die and lose all my money. So it's a little stressful, but they go, what are you going to do next? And I'm like, you know, I won't decide until I sell this house, and then it'll come to me. I'll figure it out.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's probably not the best plan out there, but
No, I love it. I mean, you don't have any really, well, you don't have any really responsibilities, or there's nothing holding you back from going all in on you. So
yeah. So work, I mean, you know, I feel like my job as a TV news anchor is just to be myself, present the news, and be likable. That's the hardest thing in life, is just to be likable. You want people to turn on the TV and go, I like that guy. I think I'll sit and listen to him while. You don't want them to go, oh, I hate that guy. I'm going to turn to another channel. So it's always a constant battle on just being the best person you can be and being genuine. That's my whole thing, is just being genuine.
somebody told me from the event this weekend that they met your mom.
They did?
Yeah, I guess you back when you before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when you were first on, or something
Oh,
about like knowing you and your family.
That's probably true. Yeah, my mom's.
Yeah,
She's
they're
been.
like, I remember when he was, you know, well, I didn't know it was 33 years ago. So she's like, it was 20 something odd years ago. And I remember meeting his mom. And I mean, you probably meet so many people that you don't know, but there were quite a few local people that were here too. So that was so funny that, yeah.
I never hear that stuff, so it's fun. It's nice to hear that.
You never hear it about you, but it's so interesting to hear the conversations that other people are having of you. But
it's funny you say that, because people always ask, do you get recognized? I'm like, man, some days I do, some days I don't. I mean, it just comes with the territory. But I always see people look at me, and I know they're thinking, did I go to school with that guy? Where do I know that guy? And sometimes they do know you, but they just don't say anything.
Yeah, because you're on the news, so they flip you on every morning. Yeah. But they've recognized your eyes, but then they don't want to say anything, and they don't. You know, it's funny that you say that, because Andy always tells our team, because we travel a lot, whether we're with him or not, when we put an Elliot shirt on, that is like our cape. That's our superpower. And Andy drills into us, and it's the right thing. We don't do it because he tells us. We just do it because it's the right thing. But he's like, you never know who's watching.
Absolutely.
Like, number one, you don't know if it's your next business transaction. Number two, you don't know if it's somebody that needs our help with what we do. You never know. So he's like, you always smile and you always say, hey, how you doing? That's, you know, so and fist bumps. So when we go throughout like the airport and people are like, oh, and kind of, you know, or people read the back of our shirts that say no rich parents, no handouts. He's always like, make sure you always like, hey, what's going on? Hey, you know, like give them a fist bump, or be like, what's going on? Or, you know, say something.
Is a kind of a shoot off of that. I always treat every single person the same. I don't care who you are, where you're from, what you look like. I try to be extremely nice to everyone. That's who I am, being raised especially from Kansas. But I always treat everyone the same. So I know if I ever hear or somebody says, oh, you're a jerk, or you were a jerk to somebody, I go, no, I wasn't. That wasn't me, or whatever, because it doesn't matter if you're having a bad day or what, you always have to treat people the same.
It's so true.
And I love people, so I love to talk to people. Although it's kind of like you guys in your t-shirts, when I'm with a cameraman and we're out on a story, I have a lot more confidence and I'll talk to a lot of people. But when I'm not and I'm away from work, I tend to be a little more shy. So, which is a weird thing. I don't know why that is, but
I used to be that way too. Yeah. Now I'm just kind of like, I used to care about what other people would think about me. So I dialed it down, and then now I'm like this, and then, you know, it's so funny is somebody asked my boyfriend Tyler the other day, Aaron, Andy's personal trainer. He asked my boyfriend, is she always like this? Like the way that you see me? And he's like, yep, we go home and she's just never turns off. And now it's a thing. I think it's because like Andy has accepted me for who I am, and he didn't, like my whole life people have told me like, Celina, you're really annoying. You're too loud. Like you're always bubbly, excited. And I'm like, I just can't help it because I'm alive. Like I was supposed to be aborted. Like my mom had me at 15. Everybody around her told her to abort me. I wasn't supposed to be here. So I'm just grateful to be here.
Well, see, I was going to say you have a great energy.
Yeah.
So when I came in here before this, I tend to be kind of laid back and maybe a little quiet, softer. So the first thing I thought is, wow, I got to ramp up my energy to hang with you. It's true, but that's a good thing.
Yeah. So Andy kind of accepted me for who I was, and he's just like, because not everybody here at our office has the energy that I have, which is fine because everybody is their own unique person. And to each is his own. Andy just wants to make sure we have the passion and we're growing. Like, are you growing further this year than where you were from a year ago? Have you grown? And that's just like who I am, is just kind of like bubbly personality. I'm very similar to like the twins. We have two twins that are here in our company, and my energy matches them very much. I guess this is my last question for you, and then we're gonna wrap it up here because I want to ask Andy this like next. I'm doing a podcast with him soon too. We just did one recently, but it's cool when we get in this setting because it's different than asking it like really publicly. But I want to know like what's a fear that you have. And it could be anything.
It's kind of funny. I have a fear of screwing up on TV, but at the same time, people come up to me and go, that day you screwed up and you messed that word up or you laughed at yourself. That was so funny. I love that. So, it's kind of endearing to people. It lets them know that you're a real person too. We all we make mistakes every day because we're, 6 hours of live television. And I've changed my tune on that. I used to think, oh my God, I can't mispronounce a word. I don't want to, obviously. But if you do, it's okay. You laugh about it and then you move on. So I think that's perfectly fine to do that. So it's a fear because you want to be your best, obviously, but it's okay to not be your best. I mean, because not everybody is. We're all humans. And if you can laugh at yourself and make a joke and put yourself down in a joking way, not being serious, but in a joking way, I think people like that because they're like, that dude's like me. He can make a mistake and laugh about it and go on.
I love that.
So I think that's really important.
Somebody that we've been watching lately, his name is Jesse Itzler. Do you know who that is? I don't know if you've seen or found him. He ran 100 miles. David Goggins lived with him for 30 days. Just like another motivational speaker, big time guy. Like I've been like watching his story and I listened to a podcast that somebody did with him, and they asked about like having a fear. And I thought that was such an interesting question. And, I think as long as like we're just becoming like the best versions of us and becoming better, we're doing good. So he has a thing, it's called a big ass calendar. And it's like a life size, like it's the size of me, this huge calendar. And he has something called a misogi. It's a Japanese term. And it's every 8 weeks you do something for you. So you have mini ones every 8 weeks and you plan it out on this huge calendar, and then you have one giant one for the year. So like my big one giant thing that I'm working on is this Ironman, because we're running it we're racing with it in a month, and that's like my one big thing that I'm doing. So like what's going to be your misogi this year? Like what's your one big thing, like a big catch that you want to get?
I have to say, as I get older, I've kind of backed off on working out a little bit, and just because I lose flexibility and it doesn't help my golf game. But I have to say, and Andy's the reason for this, after laying my eyes on Andy, I'm like, nah, I got to get back in better shape because I want to be able to take off my shirt and go, that guy works out, because it's important health-wise too. Yeah. But that's big with me. So that's going to be one of the things I'm working on. Yeah. But, one more thing about the fear, of course, financial is always a fear with me because like this house I built, not to keep talking about this, I took out all my savings. I took out everything I had and put it on it. So do I have some stressful nights thinking, God, what if it doesn't sell or I don't get what I think yeah, that can be stressful. But at the same time, that goes back to believing in yourself and just having the motivation and the confidence in what you do and that you did it right and it's going to pay off in the end.
I love that. I love that. I read a book. It's called The Psychology of Money. And inside of it, it talks about the reason why we make financial decisions is not because of other people or our peers. It's based off of our cultural experiences. And because of that, it drives us and motivates us as a perception of what's enough money and what's not enough money. Right. But inside the book, it talks about the number one thing that people are looking for is not money and materialistic things. All that they're looking for is respect. People would rather be respected than having more money, because I could be somebody that has everything out of all the world and the cars and this and that, but if nobody respects me, it means nothing to my heart. And so like I'm listening to you saying that, and what's really cool is I think that there's a lot more people out there that look up to you than what you think, that have that respect towards you. So like, make sure you give yourself credit on that.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, there are nights where I worry and I think, you know, what if I lose everything, you know, and I break even, then I'm screwed because all this, my savings that I collected over my work life could be gone. But at the same time, you have to just think, I believe in myself. It's going to work out and it's going to be just fine. So
I know it will.
yeah, I know. I believe it will too. Thank you that.
Because you're a person where your heart is in the right place. See, when their heart isn't right, and Andy always says the eyes are the window to the soul. Like, we can tell. I can tell. I told you our awareness is very heightened. I learned that from Andy. I can tell immediately if we have good or bad people that are around us, because we protect these walls very, very closely, and we would never let somebody enter in that wasn't a good person for us or a good fit. So as long as like your heart is in the right place, those things are always going to come to you. They will come to you. And the great part about us too is we have such an amazing Rolodex of people that can help you for those resources and connections. And I'll definitely make sure that.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, when you said, "Hey, would you come do a podcast with us?" I was like, "Me? Okay." Yeah, I mean, it means a lot to me. So thank you so much. Yeah, because I walk in here and everybody's so nice, and so it's very impressive to meet everybody, and you and Andy and everybody's just, I love that everybody comes up, "Hey, I'm so-and-so," because it's hard to do that out in the public, just to be the one to walk up and put out your hand and, "Hey, I'm so-and-so, how are you today?" You know, it takes a lot of confidence to do that, and a lot of people don't have that.
Yeah, I mean, even some of our newer people, we have to train them too as well, because they just don't know. Right. And we're like, hey, when you see somebody, it's kind of like a shopping cart at the grocery store. You know, it's the right thing. You don't leave it parked in the next to the car. Yeah. You know, the right thing is to go put it back in, because that's you creating your own discipline internally for you, because you know it's the right thing to do, not for the cart girl to come pick it up. Well, the same thing as walking past by somebody. The right thing to say is, "Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you?" And shake the hand.
And it feels so good to do that, because if you're the person that sits back and you don't do that, and the person next to you does, and you're watching all that and you see the response they get, the first thing you think is, I should have done that. Mm-hmm. That, you know, it does make you feel good.
Yes. Yeah. And that trait, that chivalry trait has gone. And I mean, even I teach some of the guys here. I'm like, hey, make sure you put the toilet seat down. Those little things.
Yeah, it's true.
Ladies that work here too as well.
I'm a big toilet seater down, even though I live by myself.
I know. It's the right thing to do. You never know what guests that we're having in. I mean, we have women owners, entrepreneurs that come here through all the time, but it shouldn't matter. You shouldn't do it just for them or just for me. Do it because it's the right thing to do. Right. Or if you're grabbing a cup of coffee and you spill a little bit, grab a paper towel. It's right there, and you wipe it up and clean it and throw it away.
That's another thing. I always think, I'm not going to let karma get me.
Yeah.
I mean, I always try to do the right thing, you know, because I don't want karma to come back and bite me.
I agree. Well, everybody, we have Scott here, and I'll put some of his Instagram, his Facebook, so you guys can connect with him and find him through social media too as well. But Scott Pasmore with Good Morning Arizona. We're grateful for you, and I'm glad that you're here. Thank you for being on.
It's been a real pleasure. Thank you. I really enjoyed this. Can we do it tomorrow too?
I know. I'm just gonna say, this is the last time you guys are gonna see Scott. So until next time on the 1%er podcast, we will see you guys very soon. What's going on, Elliott Army? Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like that content, please subscribe. Also, if you loved it too, take a look at these other videos that are very similar to help you guys add value, crush it, kill it. Come on.